welcome to another construction video. This one is for the Elegant Ascot Showcase, which was showcase number 26. I didn't get this one for the launch, so it was launched 2 or 3 weeks ago now, but I've finally got my hands on my set and I wanted to do a construction video for you, just in case you get confused by the instructions that are in there, or you just want to see a different take on how to put it together, because I didn't actually look at the instructions, I just kind of decided how to put it together. So it might be a different way that might help you get it to be a lovely round kind of box as well. And I've been using the stunning Mariposa Moments papers, which were in a bundle with some of their vellum when the actual Ascot box launched as well. So I will make sure that there are affiliate links to both the Ascot box and the Mariposa Moment papers and the bundle, if it's still available, in the description below the video as well. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to click on my affiliate links and use them. It just means that Tonic know that you've come from watching one of my videos, and it just means that I'll get a small commission out of the amount that you spend on Tonic's website, whether it's the UK website or the USA website, and it's at no extra cost to you as well. So I really do appreciate it, and it does make a big difference, even if it is just a few pennies here and there. So let's get on to the actual construction of this, and this is what the gorgeous Ascot box looks like. So this one and the shorter one, which I'm going to construct in the construction for you, they both go together exactly the same way, but I wanted to have both examples to show you. And instead of using all of the pretty patterned panels that you get in the die set, so you can do all of these beautiful patterned panels, you can do paper piecing in there, you can use glitter, you can use your speciality cardstocks and layer things up, and all sorts of different ideas of how you can actually decorate this box. But I just went with the gorgeous Mariposa Moments papers, and I'll show you exactly how I cut a piece to be the right height to go around the box as well. So it's just sort of left a little lip around the top, but I've done it so it goes like that. And you've also got the really cool mechanism for the handle. However, this one, I've only used one layer of texture Craft Perfect, and it's a little bit flimsy. So for the one that I'm going to construct and show you, I'm going to double it up. So I'll show you exactly how to do that as well, just to make it a little bit stronger. But the idea is that the handle can flip down like this. You stick the handle to the actual box, and then the handle can flip down, and you can easily place the lid back on here as well, without the handle being in the way, and then you can flip the handle back up so that somebody can carry it as well. And also the Mariposa papers made me think of a Tonic die set. It came out quite a long time ago, so I don't know if it's available to buy anymore, because I think it was a popular one, but obviously I know a lot of you are huge Tonic fans who watch my videos, so you might already have it in your stash from a long time ago. But I mean, the ones that I presume Alison did these on the packaging, they just go absolutely perfectly with the paper, and I just thought of this one. You could actually like make a 3D one and put it on the top here, because you've got enough room between the top of the box and the handle to have a lovely item in the centre of the top of the lid as well. And I just thought I'd mention this one in case any of you had it. It's the Perfect Petals Roses die set. I've never actually had a chance to properly make any of these ones. There were 4 different ones that launched, but I'd imagine they're pretty simple to put together, just a lot of die cutting, lots of layers, shaping them with your ball tool maybe, or just curving them slightly with your glide folder or your card creaser to get all of the petals to look beautiful like this. But I'm sure there's probably older videos that Tonic did when these launched. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. That would be a cool kind of flower motif to add on the top of the box. So I'll move all of this out of the way, and we can get on with showing you all the different pieces that you need to construct this basic box. So all of this is literally just making the base of the box, plus I've cut the decorative circle to go on the top of the box. And then when we've built the box, I will show you exactly how to work out how tall you want your piece of paper to be. I've got another sheet of this paper here, the one that I used on the previous box. I do have a little bit left from the other sheet, so I'm wondering if I could actually just use a slither from here. It wouldn't be as interesting because it's mostly just text, so we'll see what we feel like when we get to that point, but I will show you exactly how I cut the paper to go on there. So first of all, you are going to need, for the lid of the box, you're going to need 2 of the larger plain edged circle. that you get in there, and you're also going to need one of the stitched ones, which is nested inside the plain edge circle, and these two will act as the main top of the lid, and this will go inside the box to help sort of strengthen the inside of the lid. And I think it's supposed to sort of help the lid keep the box in a round shape as well. It kind of, the sides of the box can go up between these two little die cuts. I'll show you that as we put it together. But that is the first bit for the top of the box. You will also need two of these pieces, which I have added 3mm red liner tape onto the end of these pieces, and I've added 9mm red liner tape onto here because this part will also get these two pieces attached to it when we put the whole box together. And I've also put all of the little eyelets on here as well. You get a cute little die that cuts out 5 of these little eyelets, and you need 10 for each die cut. So basically you're just cutting the little 5 eyelet die 4 times, and you get enough to go all the way around the box, which is fantastic. It means you haven't got to cut it 20 times to get the little eyelets, and they just fit perfectly over the little holes that were in the die cut. And you could use that to strengthen it to then thread ribbon around the edge of the box if you want to, or you can just use it as a lovely decorative detail, keep the lid really plain but add in a beautiful pop of colour onto there with those as well. So that is all of the main pieces for the lid, but on my one I also added 2 of the stitched rectangles as well, just to really sort of reinforce that lid piece. And the way you add it all together is you kind of overlap these over the join, so then when you come back to this one you overlap them over the join again, so it makes like 3 levels of reinforcement around the lid. And for my method of putting the lid together, the way you've seen me in multiple videos, I love to do this. When I know we're going to be using 2 pieces to create the bottom of a box or the top of a box, I like to cover one of them with red liner tape, and then this is the one we will stick all of these little glue tabs to, and then we will place this one over the top to hide all of the adhesive and secure those glue tabs between 2 die cuts as well. So those are all of the pieces for the lid of the box. Then the base of the box is much simpler because there are far less pieces, because you haven't got all of the fancy scalloped decorative pieces to go around the top of it. So basically for the bottom of the box you need 2 of these, and these will either be, how tall are they? This one is 2 3/4 inches, or the tall one is about 4 inches tall. So either or of the sides, and you will need 2 of them. And then they already have the glue tabs going along the bottom, so again we need 2 bases, but this time the base is the stitched one, not the plain edged one. So for the lid of the box you need the plain edged circle, but for the base of the box you need the stitched edged circle, because they're just a couple of millimeters smaller than each other. And again I've done the same thing, so I've covered one of them in red liner tape. You don't have to do this method, you can go with glue. I just find it so much easier and quicker to do red liner tape, and I think it helps it give it a really nice circular shape as well. You'll see what I mean when I'm putting it together. So that is everything for the base of the box, and then to create the handle portion you will need 4 of these pieces, which are the actual like piece that attaches the handle to the actual box. Then you will need 8 of these pieces, which is the larger sort of disc that has piercing detail and then has those 2 slots in the centre. You're going to need 8 of those. Then you will need at least 6 of these. You could go with 8 of these if you wanted to, but 6 does work because that's what I've used on the one that I've already made. And then you will also need for the actual handle, this is to create the pivot mechanism that makes the handle fold downwards, but for the actual handle you're going to need 4 of these pieces, because on the original one I used 2 and I feel like it needs to be sturdier, so we're going to use 4 of them and double them up. And then you will also need 3 of these little buckle pieces. One of them is going to help us join the 2 pieces together, so I've just done that from the regular Craft Perfect, and then these 2 are going to go above and below this one to reinforce that, keep the little handles attached to it and to make it look pretty. So I've used the Inca Gold mirror card for those as well. So if I zoom in a little bit you can see those a little bit closer up, that you're going to need 4 of those, 8 of these, 6 of these little ones, and then 4 of those bits and 3 of these, one just from your normal Craft Perfect and 2 speciality sort of ones, or whatever's going to match the rest of your hardware that you're putting on there. And then I've also cut 1 stitched circle to be on the lid as well. So we're just going to have a slightly different design because I got them both out of the 2 different top corners of that piece of paper. So those are all of the pieces that we're going to need. So I'll move all of this to the side and we will start by building the lid of the box. So I'm just going to build this the same way that I built the first one. So I'm going to take these 2 pieces that have got the little glue tabs on, and I'm just going to take off that little piece of red liner tape on that little glue tab. It is like marked as a glue tab, that one, but you don't actually have to fold the glue tab. It's literally just as a marker place so that you know exactly where to place the next one, so that when you link it in a ring, it's going to be the perfect circumference to go with your circle. So I've put that one on like that, and we want this tape to be on the outside of the box. And then I'm going to take the other piece off on the other tab, and we're going to stick that round to be a circle. You can see it wants to go into an eye shape, so we're just going to like gently try and coax that into more of a circular sort of shape. It's gone a bit square, but when we put the circle inside, it will make it go circular. We want to fold all of these glue tabs down like so. So there, this is the side that I've stuck the tape on is the professional side of the card, and we're folding those tabs sort of inwards and away from us, like so, all the way around. Then we want to take the circle that we have covered with adhesive, and we want to place that inside of this. And if I put it down this way, it's probably easier. We can just make that follow the curve of that circle, and you can see how all of the glue tabs are eventually going to be sticking to this piece. You will also need, actually, I should have said this earlier, because we've done this method like this, to be able to get firm pressure to push all of these tabs down, you're also going to need a scrap piece of the backing from double-sided adhesive sheets. So this can either be the backing from one of the Craft Perfect A4 adhesive sheets that you might have cut down to use on a card project, or it can also be the backing from like a large sheet of stickers. It can be the backing from a sheet of foam pads that you might have, or even if you have the really wide roll of double-sided tape that I often use, you can keep the backing piece from that as well. Just something that's going to be big enough for the circle to fit onto, so when we're pressing down on those tabs, we're not going to get our red liner tape sticking to our glass cutting mat. So now we've got that in place like this. This part can be a little bit fiddly, but once you get going with it, it's pretty easy. So you just want to take off the first piece of red liner tape, and I would recommend going with one of these little edge pieces like this. Then we're going to push that circle right up to the fold line of that glue tab, and then we're just going to press it into the adhesive. And that's literally what we're going to do all the way around, and we're just going to keep removing the next line of red liner tape as we go to get those little tabs to have somewhere to stick onto. So we're literally just going to go round the top of the lid, making sure we just take off another strip of red liner tape as we need it, sometimes 2 strips at a time, and then we can just push those glue tabs into it. And just making sure that that circle is sort of right up with that score line of the little glue tab. You can just push up from underneath to get the circle to be right at the top, and then you can just go along and keep removing some more of the red liner tape backing. I just find this is such an easy way of creating a box, and it's you've seen in a lot of my like construction videos, or when I've done a mini construction in an unboxing or an up close kind of video. It's just so much easier to add red liner tape to one of the pieces and then put your glue tabs onto that, rather than trying to put glue or red liner tape just on these little tabs as well. And I suppose you could definitely do this with glue, but doing it like this, you haven't got to worry about like folding the back out, putting a little bit of glue on, and then, you know, I just find it so much easier. So hopefully at least one of you will find this helpful for putting this box together, or any other boxes that you have. Maybe you've not seen this kind of way of constructing one before. So we can just poke that up there, and then the final one, and then that is the main portion to the top of the lid with all of the glue tabs down. And then to make sure that they're all nicely and firmly stuck in place, we can just place this down and press all the way around, and then we can release it from that paper, and we now have it perfectly stuck onto there. Then we are going to need the other plain edged circle, and at this point I'm just going to stick my patterned piece onto there as well. And as you can see, actually, if I show you that, the tiny difference in the circle shapes. So that's how we can use one as the lid of the box and one as the base of the box, because there's just that few millimeters sort of difference in size for the diameter of the circles. Okay, so I'm just going to place that in the centre, and for this it's really good to use wet glue because it's such a tiny little amount. It's quite nice to be able to just slide it a little bit if you get it off centre, because it's quite noticeable when it's just a little slither if you're a little bit off centre. So we've got that stuck together now, and then all we're going to do to finish off the lid is we're just going to stick this on all of that exposed adhesive. And I did actually, when I was doing the first one, add some Nouveau Deluxe adhesive onto the back of this as well, just so that it can slide around a little bit. You do want to try and get the placement right first time. I don't think you're really going to want to pull this off and try and do it again. So you've got to sort of be on the ball a little bit, but you can see around the edge here where there isn't glue tabs, you can see the edge of the previous circle. So you're just basically lining it up with that. If you get it lined up in one place first and press it into place, you can kind of go around the rest of the lid and press that into place. So you've now got that stuck on. Now we can press from the back and get a good firm adhesion onto that. And then that is the first part for the top of the lid. But now we have this little stubby side piece, so we want to make that look a lot prettier. So we can now take both pieces of this off. And then you see here where we have the two joins, you can probably see better from the back maybe with the actual glue tab there, you have that little join there. So when we come back in with these pieces with all of the eyelets on, we want to make sure that this piece is going over that join. So you can basically like hold this piece roughly in the middle and then just place it onto here like so, and we're just basically lining up the top of that to the top of the circle of the lid, so it's kind of flush with the top of it. And we can just follow that all the way around, and having that red liner tape on there means that it's going to be a really strong bond with the red liner tape, but it also means like if you had put your adhesive onto the back of this, you might then have exposed adhesive down here, and then that might stick the box together when you put the lid back on it, because this part would be touching the base of the box basically. So if there was any exposed adhesive there, you might glue your box together. So doing it like this sort of eliminates that possibility that you might have any exposed adhesive on the inside. Then these two pieces match up perfectly, so you can actually just start next to this one and butt them right up together, making sure they're in line with the top of the box again, and then you can just go all the way around. And because we've used, because I've used the textured Craft Perfect card to cut this out of, it's a nice lightweight kind of cardstock, and we will be adding more layers to it with the 190 GSM papers and with these extra pieces that we're going to add onto the lid. So it doesn't actually matter that this is more of like a flimsier weight of card. It actually helps with putting it together because it gives you a nice smooth curve. You really don't have to sort of pre-shape your card at all. It just curves around really nicely. So that's a great sort of starting card to use if you've never made a circular box before. I don't think I've actually ever made a completely circular box before. I can't think of one that I have done. There might be one. And then I've got two of these stitched rectangles here. They've got that beautiful stitching detail on. You could have cut these from the pattern paper as well, but because the main body of my boxes is the patterned paper, I wanted this to sort of be quite plain, and I've already got like the eyelets on the lid as well, so it's quite nice to have a little bit of plainness to it. And then for these ones, I decided just to use wet glue to stick these on. So I'm just going to add a bit of glue to the back of these. And then again, this time, we want to go over this seam now. So this is going to be sort of like reinforcing the first seam, because you're almost going in the same place that the first ones were, but then you're also reinforcing this seam as well. And this is more just like a decorative panel, because they don't actually join as they go round the box. You have like a sort of about 6mm sort of gap between the two of them. So we can hold this in place and get the glue to set. I did actually end up picking a slightly different colour of cardstock. I didn't think I had a cardstock that differed that slightly, but apparently I do, and it's just a slightly different colour. But it doesn't really matter. I think it makes it look like it was on purpose, really. And then we can take the next one and add wet glue to the back of this as well. And then for this one, as I said just now, there's about a 5-6mm gap between the two of them. So because we're using wet glue, we have enough time to adjust that. See, I've got a slightly bigger gap around here. So if I move that slightly closer and then go back to here, then you can get a nice placement of the two of those pieces. They've just got that small little gap between them there. And then we can press all the way around to get the adhesive to hold around that curvature. And then once we've done that, that is the lid of the box, and it's nice and sturdy now with all those layers inside there. So we've got that as our lid for our box. Then the next thing we want to do, oh, actually, yes, we need a piece inside here. So what I was saying before about needing an extra stitched circle, this actually fits inside, and when you have stuck it together, it leaves like a tiny little channel in there that the bottom of the box sort of sits in, and this circle kind of holds it in place, because this is the exact diameter of the bottom of the box, because it is the actual die that we're using to be the bottom of the box. So you know that it's going to be the perfect diameter to hold the top of the box in the right shape. And we can just place that on the inside, making sure it's nice and central. And then we can just press that into place as well. And now that's the finished lid. So now we want to move on to the bottom of the box, which we're going to do in exactly the same way as the lid, but it's much simpler because all you have is 2 side pieces and 2 circles. So firstly, I want to make my cylinder. So I'm going to take these 2 pieces and I'm going to stick them together. So we've got one long strip, and then I'm going to take this piece and pull it round to make our actual cylinder. And we can hold them together. And you can see actually these 2 pieces, they just made a perfect circle straight away. So the Texture Craft Perfect's really great for that. And then we want to do what we did last time, and we're folding all of those glue tabs inwards. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing, and we're going to take the one that we've covered in tape and we're going to put it inside there. And then, oh, one of the glue tabs has gone underneath it. And then we've got that again, and we're just going to do exactly the same thing of taking the tape off, starting with one of these side pieces, and then we can actually stick all of our glue tabs down, making sure that base piece is right up to the score line of those glue tabs, and then we can just press them down, whoops, press them down into place. I must admit the bottom of the box is slightly harder just because you're further away from it, because when you're doing the top of the box, this side piece is only like this long, so it does make it slightly easier. So it's a little bit more difficult with the bottom of the box, but it's still doable. You can still reach inside there and press from the inside. Just take a couple off at a time for this bit. You could take all of it off if you wanted to. I just feel like doing it one or 2 strips at a time is probably easier. You're going to get in less of a mess, and you're not going to get all of your glue tabs sticking in the wrong position or anything. Okay, and then the final 2 strips. Okay, and then we can pull those 2 tabs in, they went underneath. and we can just get the last ones to stick round. Okay, and then we can take our release paper or the backing from the double-sided adhesive and push that down and then press from the inside to make sure your glue tabs are stuck down, or if you can't quite reach down on the inside, especially if you're doing the taller box, you can use your glide folder or bone folder or card creaser to press down. And then we have exactly the same thing to do again. We're going to put our wet adhesive on the back of the second one of these. And then we can line it up again to cover the base of the box. Okay, so there we have the base of our box as well. So I'll show you actually how to cut the paper now before we do the handle, because we're going to want to stick the handle onto the box when we've done it, and we need the pattern paper to be on the box first. So the way I did the pattern paper for the previous one, let me just zoom out a little bit, and you're going to want a paper trimmer, whoops, that can trim the 12-inch length of paper, because these are 12 by 12 pattern papers, and all I did to get the height of mine that I wanted was I just put it on here. That line where it cuts is like the 0 mark, so I just put it on there and then eyeballed that it came out, the previous one came out of 4 inches. I cut that one to 4 inches, but this one I'd say that's probably 6.5 centimetres. So I tend to go in inches or centimetres depending which one is closer, and I think 6.5 centimetres is going to be the perfect height for this one. That's what I love about this super trimmer. It's got both measurements on it, so you can actually flip between inches and centimetres depending on what works best for your project. So if we do 6.5 centimetres, we do just have enough from this paper, but my thought is this going to be too boring, or is that still going to be interesting enough with the text on there compared to this one? I suppose there's still enough little bits of yellow on there to still go with it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with this piece then. So actually then, if you are using these pattern papers or any 12 by 12 papers that you have, you can get both lids and both side pieces for the 2 different sizes from just one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So that's quite a good thing to let you know actually as well. If you do want to do a matching set of the 2 different sizes, you can get all of the bits and pieces from one piece of 12 by 12 if you are using your pattern paper to decorate. I did also leave my pattern paper this length, so I just left it the 12 inches. It does overlap a little bit as you put it around the box, but I didn't mind that overlap. It kind of helps the lid fit on nice and snugly because you're adding like one extra layer around here. So I just left the overhang on there. And the way I stuck this onto here was, so this is the first side that I want to be stuck on because I want to see that bit of the patterned paper. So for this bit, I took some 9mm red liner tape. You can use any red liner tape you want to. I just have a big roll of 9mm, and I put 1 strip here. Then where it's going to overlap, I'm going to put 2 strips so that it's going to be nicely stuck at the overlap. And then to make sure it sticks all the way around, and so I don't have to use wet glue and get in a mess with putting a bit of glue on trying to fold it round and hold it and stuff, I've got the 6mm tissue tape from Tonic, and I'm just going to run a long strip of that all the way along the edge of the pattern paper, and then that's going to hold it into place as we go around the box. And one on the other side. I didn't do anything in the middle, I just left the middle piece, but you could add a bit of adhesive in the middle if you want to. You don't really need it on the shorter one. I mean, I could definitely have done it on the taller one, but top and bottom pieces of tape have held it in place enough to keep it nice and secure. So to get this to stick onto the box, firstly I'm going to trim off that tiny bit of excess tape that's there, and then all I did was take that first piece of red liner tape off, and then I'm not taking all of this off because I think I'd get in a right mess. I'm just going to flick back a little bit, so a couple of inches or 3 inches. Then I'm going to start this piece. I don't think I specifically took into account where the joins were when I did it before, but let's just start at one of the joins for this one. So we're literally just going to place that on with the red liner tape, making sure you have whatever distance you want from top to bottom so that you can keep it consistent all the way around. And then you just want to start pulling the piece of paper round, and then as you get to the end of the tissue tape, you can just pull up a little bit more of the length of the backing, and then you can just keep following the box round. Pull a little bit more of the length off of the backing. You can cut these too if they're getting in your way, and then we can just follow round even more. Then we can remove the final bits of this, and we can go around further, and then once we get back to just before these bits of tape, we can then remove those 2 pieces and then stick it into place, and it'll overlap perfectly and just give a little seam in one place on the box, rather than using 2 pieces of patterned paper. Like, you could definitely, if you wanted to, use the outside of the patterned panel that would go on it, and you could just cut 2 of them from your patterned paper, but I just like that continuous look of having a piece of patterned paper that wraps all the way around. And also just make sure that your writing is up the right way when you're putting it on as well. Luckily mine is, because I didn't even think to double check that. So we've now got that as our little base piece for our box, and then we can put the lid on. Just got to make sure all of those little scallops are on the outside. The good thing about using the Texture Craft Perfect as well is because it makes it slightly squidgeable, so you can actually squidge the box in to get it to... Why is this one being so difficult? You can squidge the box in to go underneath the little scallops. There we go. And then you've got the lid on your little box like that. So we now want to add our handle onto this as well, and actually if we did feel like this was looking a little bit too plain, we could definitely come back with our patterned paper, trim out some flower motifs and add them onto the side here. It just saves you cutting into another sheet of paper to decorate the bottom of this box. So we could definitely cut out some of these elements, the little butterfly, some of the gorgeous little yellow flowers and stuff, and add them on. Or you could tie a ribbon around the side of the box and add some extra colour here. Or we could use the dies to cut out some of this foliage sort of design and put that around the top of the box as well. So there's loads of ways. If you feel like you get to this stage and you think it looks too plain, you can definitely add extra decoration to it. So for the handle, we now need 4 of these, and we need these 3 little brackety kind of pieces that are going to hold these together. So if I zoom in a little bit, 2 of these are cut from a different colour because I don't think you can really tell on the camera. That one's just slightly darker colour. So I'm going to keep it consistent, so one of the colours will be on the top and one of the colours will be on the bottom. So to do this, these little pieces actually have a little score line on them. You can see that tiny little score line that you can fold just like that, and this is actually designed to loop into this piece here, so you can put that onto there, make sure it's in the centre, and then you can stick it onto that little piece just like that with the little bent bit going around the back. So the way I did this was I just took a little bit of glue, put it on the back of the flap and that longer piece as well, so you've got glue on both of those areas, and then you just take your little bracket piece like this, place that on the front and fold the flap down the back of it, and then press that into place to secure it. So we've now got that little piece added onto there. And then we want to do exactly the same on the other side, so we can pre-fold that so it's ready, and then add the glue onto there and place that on. Now, at this point, if you're using a thicker card, you can just add these two pretty ones either side of this one. But because I want to make this a little bit stronger, I'm going to flip this over so we're working on the back. And then I'm going to... Okay, so because this is a slightly offset sort of pattern, we're going to have to stick these on what would be backwards anyway. So you're still going to see that unprofessional edge. It's just going to reinforce it a little bit. But we don't particularly want these little bits overlapping, so I'm just going to take my scissors, and where that little score line is on these two extra ones, I'm just going to snip it off because we don't need that bit. It's just going to be in the way. Then we can take our glue, and we want to put the glue on the front of this piece because we're going to stick it to the back of the other one. So we're basically stacking the die cuts in exactly the same direction. So the professional side is going to the unprofessional side. And we can just place that on there and then make sure it's all lined up. Wiggle it around, and there we've got just a double strength kind of handle then. And then on this one we want to do exactly the same thing. So we want to put the glue on the front of the die cut. And then place that one over there. And there we have our reinforced handle. So it's going to be a little bit stronger than the first one that I made, because it's a little bit difficult to twist that one down without the handle going wibbly wobbly. So now we've got that piece. Then we need to cover that little bit there with our little extra decorative pieces. So we can just add some glue to that and then place that over that piece. And this is just giving it a little decorative element, but it's also hiding the workings of how we've added that second one and how the first one was wrapped around it as well. And it's also gonna, if it's hiding those elements, it's actually sort of securing them in place a little bit more as well, because you've now got something glued sort of either side of it, so it's going to keep that glue tab in place and make the handle stronger as well. So now we've got our actual handle piece. We can put that to the side whilst we build our little like mechanism kind of piece. So we've got all these little bits and pieces. The first thing we want to do is we have 4 of these and we want to stick them back to each other. So we want to end up with 2 of them that look really pretty with the Inca gold card on both sides of them. I love the details that are in here as well, and you do actually have extra dies that you can cut out and stick over the top of that too. If you wanted these to be out of more of like a plainer card, you could then cut your mirror card elements as the little extra pieces to go on those little plates that stick to the actual box as well. It needs a little bit more glue. Okay, so now we've got those 2 pieces. We need to start building the rest of like this little pivot mechanism. So we need 6 of these little pieces. You could go with 8 if you wanted to as well. And you just want to stack 3 on top of each other, because we want 1 for each side of the box. And I tend to stack 2 of them up directly on top of each other, and then the third one I like to flip over. I feel like, I don't know why I tend to do that, but I feel like it gives it a slightly bit of extra height, because this is actually going to be like a spacer for your mechanism. And I feel like flipping one the other way gives a little bit of extra height because of that beveledness that you get with a die cut. I don't know if that actually does anything, but I just tend to always do that. It's also good to be in a habit like that actually, just in case you're ever going to see the other side of something that you stacked. you know, it's quite nice to be in the habit of making sure professional edges are outwards. So now we've got those two pieces, we need to take two of these and we need to stick one of these on top of this piece. We don't want any excess glue, so make sure to tap off the excess. And then you want to place that one so the slits are lining up and it's just going to be stuck straight on top of there. Then you want to do this one as well, like so. So you've now got both of those. Then these pieces are going to go over the top of that, so we can do both of those ones. And then you want to stick another one of these on top of there, but again, you don't want too much glue. You only want to stick just that piece there, and I'll show you then how the mechanism is supposed to move. So the way I get round this is I put that on there and then I tap it, so I'm taking the excess off by tapping it because I can't really pat that on the back of my hand. And then we're going to flip that one that way up and stick that onto there so that the slits line up again. And I can show you that again on this one. So we're going to put our glue onto here and then pat it with our finger to take all of the excess off, so it's literally just like tacky with glue. And then we can place this one on the top, like so. And then this one's had a little chance to completely dry, and you can see how that pivots then, and that's what creates the little mechanism. This sticks to the box, and then this is where the handle will attach, and that allows you to kind of pivot it round as well. So now we need to add our handle. So for this we're going to bring back the handle that's already dried, then we're going on the back of this piece here and we want to stick that like so onto our piece like this and get that to stick nicely. Then to cover up that join you want another one of these pieces, and if you pat the glue off it'll be tackier quicker, so it'll stay stuck quicker. And we're just going to press that into place, and then we should still have this mechanism that moves, but now we've got the prettiness on there as well. And then you've also got an extra die cut to add on the other side as well. You can just about see this, so it is worth putting that on there. And it just makes it all look really lovely and pretty with all the professional sides facing outwards. And then you can still pivot that little system around. You could utilise this handle for all sorts of different boxes as well. It's going to be a really nice useful one to have in your collection of dies. Then we want to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going on the back of the handle on that whole glue tab there, and then placing that, you're basically lining it up, the bottom of this, you line up the bottom with the bottom slit, and then the top should be right on that curvature of the circle. You can see how it lines up perfectly, so you know exactly where it's supposed to go. And then we're just going to stick another one over the top, and again pat off the excess. And then finally finish off the other side. And put the final one on. Then for attaching this to the box, you could use brads if you wanted to make it a really strong fixture onto there. You could poke a hole through here, poke a hole into the box, and then use a brad on there, and it would also give an extra like decorative element. But I always like using my 3D foam. It's a really strong sticky 3D foam, this 3M one, and it always seems to stay stuck. Whatever I tend to use it for, it always stays stuck, so I like to go for this. And basically you're working on, so you can see the back of the handle, and you're looking at these two pieces here, and I was literally to put the other one on, just sticking a big rectangle of foam tape on the back of those two hinge pieces, or the sort of bracket twisty pieces. So just a nice big rectangle on both of them. And then to get the handle to be like perfectly opposite each other, you have, okay, so because on this box, because I wrapped the paper round, we only have one seam, but if you had used the patterned panels, you could use them to guide you where to put the handle on, but because I've done the patterned paper, I only have one seam, so it doesn't really help me. So the way I was doing it was, that's the back of the box with the seam, and then I was lining up the lid where I've got these two joins here. I was lining them up to be opposite each other, but perpendicular to the back seam. So that's going to be the back, that's going to be the front, and we want the handle to sit either side. So what I was doing was holding that lid in place, making sure that handle system is all straight, and then you just place this onto here. And I think you can do it as high or as low as you want it to be, but you want the handle to be sticking on the box rather than on the lid, and then you want this piece to be in line with this bit here, or the join that you have on your lid, or the joins that you have on your box. You can use them to help you. So that is the first one in place, and then we just turn it round and we want to put the other one directly opposite. And you can see when I stick that one there, I'm going to have the back seam in between them, so then this would be the front of the box, and you've got a nice finish then. So we're just going to double check how high we stuck it on that side, so that we know for when we're placing it on there. And then I think about that high, and then we can just press that down, and you can see how that's much better, doubling that up actually, much better. And then you can take the lid off, it's not interfering with the system, and we can press that really firmly, or you can open your split pins from your brad on the inside of the box. You could also do the same thing as we did with pattern paper, or if you've used the patterned panels on the outside, you could do the thing with the pattern paper on the inside. So you just had one seam on the inside of the box, and you could put this whole pretty pattern to line the inside as well. So I guess if you are going to line the inside of your box and the outside with a patterned paper, then one 12 by 12 sheet should do the whole box for you, which is quite nice to know. So now we have our little baby box as well. So the little baby Ascot box, and you can just put your lid back on, and it doesn't matter which way around the lid is when it's back on the box. I was just using those two seams from the lid to help me get halfway across the box to be able to put these directly opposite each other, but you don't have to always orient the lid in that direction. Why is that not going down? Oh, it's getting caught on something on the inside. There we go. You know, we have that first lip on the inside that we then put the scalloped one on. It was just getting caught on that. So if your lid is ever getting caught, it's probably just because that's not quite stuck down properly on the inside. But there we have both of our little Ascot boxes. So there we go. I do think this one does look a little bit plain, so maybe I should have gone for the second sheet of paper to get a prettier pattern on this, but maybe it gives it a slightly more masculine look because there's not as many flowers or butterflies on it, so that could also be a design feature as well. So I hope you enjoyed this construction video. Hopefully it was helpful to at least somebody to see a different way of putting the box together, and how I like to do it with adding the double-sided tape to one of your top or base pieces to make it easier to stick all your little tabs to. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget the links are in the description below the video in case you want to get hold of your die set or the extra paper pad that I've used to decorate this as well. I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end of the video, and I really hope it was helpful as well. And I will see you again in the next video. Bye!